So I used to run a marketing agency too.
Who didn't, Haley?
Right.
I always joke that the only happy agency owner is a former agency owner.
We should have like a debrief on that.
Hey everyone, welcome to Where Brands Get Their Edge. If you are a founder, we've got the truth. If you're a marketer, we've got the tools. Today, as always, I'm joined by Amanda, my co-host, and Haley with Hustle Fund. What's up, Haley?
Hey, Borzou and Amanda. So great to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. In everyone's best interest, we decided to let Haley introduce herself today because Hustle Fund has also gone through a bit of a rebrand. But Haley, give us the rundown.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Haley Bryant. I'm a partner at Hustle Fund. Hustle Fund is a pre-seed fund investing in hilariously early startups. We're the first check in 50% of the time, investing in lots of different software categories, including B2B, fintech, health, of course, critical industries, and having so much fun in this moment of switch. We write $150,000 checks at the earliest stages. We do not need a lead to commit to investing. And we love bringing in our friends, other VCs, angels into rounds to help founders close rounds faster. Been around for 8 years, started by three friends who went to school together 25 years ago. And then I kind of jumped in 3.5 years ago, and here we are. We're actively deploying out of Fund 4.
If you are a founder who is trying to raise money, you know how big a deal it is that they invest that early, which means they must have a lot of trust in who you are and what you're doing. Haley, how do you guys make these decisions about which ones you're going to go into?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are several things, right? Maybe first, like our thesis at Hustle Fund is that what matters most in building a great business is this idea of hustle, which we define as great execution meets high velocity. So we care a lot, of course, about the size of the market, how quickly it's growing, and then how unique the idea is. That is a really big one, especially now, right? We see so many companies that want to make maybe an incremental change in an already very crowded space, but there's so much opportunity in brand new spaces. If you're plugged in, you're thinking probably about the rise of the agentic economy, which opens up market categories and all kinds of new things. So we love seeing.
What? This is the first time hearing about this.
I feel like I've been thinking about it for years, but we love new ideas, weird ideas. I've definitely backed companies that are building in weird spaces before that now maybe seem obvious, but it comes down to the team. So at the early stages, we know teams are going to pivot a lot. So we want to know, where are you building what you're building? What have you done before that's been hard? Does not mean building another startup or working at the hottest startup or going to an Ivy League school. It's really about your curiosity, your grit, and your ability to execute. So we look for very data-driven founders, which is actually part of why I think people who've been in marketing and in product have such an edge right now as early builders, because you're used to thinking in A/B tests and running experiments to figure out how you're going to grow. If it's so easy to build products, then what becomes more important is distribution and then, of course, driving adoption. So these are things we look for, but I just like getting to know great people and getting to follow their journeys.
You said you guys invest hilariously early. What is the earliest you've ever invested, and how has that worked out for you?
That's a really good question, Amanda. So we have four partners in the team, and everyone anchors on something slightly different. We are one of those maybe kind of weird non-consensus driven firms, which means we don't go through this lengthy investment committee process. Every investor has check writing ability, which means I might hate a deal that another partner loves and vice versa, and we can still invest. And often it's those non-consensus bets that end up working out really well. Some of the earliest companies we've invested in have been where one of our partners has built a relationship with someone over some period of time, met them at an event, maybe a Hustle Fund event, and just thought they were really interesting, great builders. And we invested literally in the person, not even in a company, a product. That said, it is so much easier to get started now. And we want to make sure you can actually execute and go beyond this kind of napkin stage. I would say we at least like to see something vibe coded before we'll write a check.
Which is still very early.
Very
Yeah.
early. I can vibe code things. Like, am I gonna walk away from this with a check? Like, maybe, who knows? That would be
You
great.
guys, what kind of due diligence do you do? Because you said you invest in the people, the person, the team. Do you think that you go about this differently than other funds in that way?
Yeah. So I posted recently about like really lengthy due diligence processes that precede. I have pretty strong feelings because at the early stages, there just is not that much to go off of. So when founders are being asked for like Series A level diligence on what's your forecast, let's do like a discounted cash flow analysis over your numbers for the next 5 years. When you haven't even fully validated the market yet, it feels like kind of a fool's errand and a waste of founders' time. So I really get frustrated when I hear about processes like that, especially for smaller checks, right? So we are a $150,000 check, which hopefully is meaningful in the context of a fairly small and scrappy pre-seed round, but it's not that big. So I'm trying to get to yes within a week of a first call, which means the diligence is often like looking at the product, giving the founder feedback, seeing how quickly they iterate on that feedback, like really seeing what it's like to work with them, maybe talking to people they've worked with or for previously. Although I think we've all had those coworkers where we're like, I hate that guy, or, they were really frustrating. But sometimes it's the people who are hard to work with who are actually really great founders. They just weren't great at being managed by someone else. So I do think that part's hard. I will, of course, make sure there are no red flags, like, look on the internet and see, has this person come up in anything salacious previously that we should know about? And then we do the standard KYC, know your customer, just to make sure we're not, I won't make jokes in this geopolitical environment. So I'll just keep my there, but you get me. Anyway, really fast diligence, really trying to understand as much as we can about the founder and working with them. And then we do go into things like the market based on publicly available information and primary research with experts.
So we have a lot of alignment in a couple of things here. One, I don't know if I told you, but hustle is also one of our core values. Two, I'm also a big believer in different is better than better, right? Even when it comes to like branding and positioning, it's like
Mm,
if you're trying to, be cheaper than Kmart, right? That's never going to work, right? But Target can position themselves a little differently. They're all selling the same shit. You know what I mean? But like it really is making a space for yourself and kind of making it your own. How much do you guys factor in? Let's talk about brand for the initial company, right? Because when you're that early, when you're in the napkin phase, like there's not much, right? And we see the two biggest times we see people, I'll say three biggest times people invest in brand. One is like they validate their concept, they want to throw gas on the fire. One is right before they sell. The other is right after, right? VC always seems to want to do a big rebrand after. So with all that, like where do you think is the importance of it? And when do you think founders should start thinking about it?
yeah, this is a tough one. So as with all things in
You
life,
don't listen, you don't have to say it's the most important thing just because you're on our show.
no, not at all. I think that it really depends, right? So, like, what category are you building in and what type of product are you building? So, for example, I backed a company a few years ago called Debbie, it's sort of like Noom for financial wellness for Gen Zs. So the idea is to help people get out of that buy now, pay later trap, pay off their
Mhm.
debt, build better financial habits through education and savings. When they pitched, they were still a consumer product and their vision was to go B to B to C. But often to do that, you have to validate on the consumer side first. And when you're trying to attract consumers, especially in fintech, it's so competitive. I believe you have to have an insanely good brand to attract consumers, which then attracts investors, right? But there are definitely consumer investors out there, but a lot of people are worried about consumer because the unit economics are so tough. It's really expensive to acquire customers, to retain customers. So in general, when I've backed consumer companies, brand matters immensely. And in fact, I've backed companies literally based on an idea in consumer because the brand was so strong. And I felt like they had a strong perspective on the flywheel they could build to grow fairly organically. So I think like consumer, super important in a really crowded space. To your point, Borzou, you have to be counter positioned in some way. So if everyone is sort of in this like incumbent legacy space, like can you be the fun, exciting, newer, interesting brand? So there are certain categories where I think brand makes a ton of sense from the company perspective. Then there's from the founder perspective and having a personal brand. And again, I think this matters a lot in competitive spaces. We were really lucky to get to invest in this company called Rork, which is a company that allows you to generate apps from natural language, RORK. They famously were down to their last dollars, like sleeping on floors before a tweet on X. We still say tweet on X. It feels like
Yes,
weird.
we do. We still
Okay.
do.
I don't know why we do either, but yes.
Yeah. correcting myself. Before a tweet on X went viral and they raised a $2.5 million round led by A16Z. And that was because they were building in public and consistently shipping updates. So that was not even just from the company perspective, but from the founder profile. And in general, I would say like having this build in public profile is only helpful for you to attract talent, to attract investors, to learn, get PR features, like that kind of thing. So brand matters a lot. Again, I think it just depends on the category, but I'm curious for your experience. Like what do you see? What do you recommend? And what do you hear from founders?
So on the personal brand side, I think it's becoming more important than ever. I think everything you said, and particularly like millennials, Gen Z, and below, they want to spend money and work with people they know and believe in, right? And they share common values, and they even want to work for those people, right? So whether it's attracting employees, attracting customers, the most dramatic example of it is Elon's whole kind of rise and fall, right? He built a brand of personality, and people were buying Teslas because they believed in him, and then he went in a direction that alienated a lot of his customer base, trying to be as chill about this as possible. And he paid the price, right? And I think founders get so caught up in this idea that we're like, if they're the face of the brand, it like either makes them look smaller or they're going to only want to talk to them. But it's like no one gets on a Virgin flight and expects to see Richard Branson, But they get on. They want to be associated with him and his values and everything else.
Well, I think even, you were breaking it down by generation. And I think that people in general really just resonate more with other humans. So they want to see what the leadership is doing. And those leaders, I mean, it's really important for as many leaders in a company to be active in their personal brand as possible. It's like strength in numbers. And it's also just brings that human component, that authenticity. Nobody wants more corporate. Everybody wants more sincere, more transparent, more authentic.
Yeah. Well, and I call them homegrown influencers, right? If your people on your team are building their personal brand, even if they're just doing, whether it's podcasts, just regular posting, this and that, right? That's a tide that raises all ships. Everyone's going to benefit from that. And it's also, I think, the best way to cut through like the AI marketing slot, right? Like you want to stand out. You want people to know who you are and care. It's the number one way to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing because it's not even that obviously not all influencers are authentic, but it's still better than corporate. It works. Like if you have a post that goes out from your company and the same post goes out from the leadership of the company, the post from the leader of the company is going to do better every time, exponentially.
Totally. No, we completely agree with that. We have really tried to build Hustle Fund in a brand first way, in part because our mission is to democratize wealth creation via startups by providing capital, knowledge, and networks, which means that we want to make everything that we're doing, what we're seeing, what we're learning from portfolio companies super accessible. And this is a nice flywheel, right? It helps us attract more founders, even people who end up investing in us and angels. So it kind of keeps our ecosystem alive. But we've done that not by, sharing updates from, to Amanda's point, like the company LinkedIn profile, but Elizabeth posting about her obsession with hippos and Eric talking about how much he loves F1 and posting like selfies from his garage. Well, Sheehan has a very, very cute and adorable, like little chubby baby that I wish you would post pictures of, but we probably can't come in. Like I post about like teaching soul cycle classes. Like we try to be very human versus overly focused on the slop and kind of the stuff you see every day when you log into LinkedIn.
I really like the message. There's a main message on your site. It's for people who are obsessed with startups and hippocorns. And I was just like, never even heard of one, but then you have an image of one right there. And I'm like, that's the cutest thing ever. So that's great. I mean, that's because it's very original and people can relate to it. So I think it's really cool.
Well, and I think a lot of founders get caught up because they think like something they post has to be so profound,
Totally.
And it's like, no, they just want to get to know you. And even all the missteps, even all the falling down, like it's like reality TV. It's part of the story. And it's fascinating to people who aren't living the life.
It's so true. So we host a founder summit for our portfolio companies a couple of times a year. And after our first one, or one of our first ones last year, one of the founders I'd backed texted me and said, Elizabeth's so awesome. She hadn't gotten to meet her in person before. And I think she finally convinced me to start posting because Elizabeth had told them like, You just need to start, just like get started. It doesn't really matter where, it doesn't matter how often, you do it or how good it is, just start somewhere. And she used the example, like, I didn't know where to get started. One day I just posted about like eating a bagel, and that was her post of the day. And so the founder who texted me was like, that's the bar. Like, I can post about eating a bagel and that will get me started. And now this founder actually posts very thoughtful content that probably takes a lot more time than eating a bagel would. But, it's like lower the barrier to entry, just start somewhere.
Well, it's like everything else. You got to be bad at it before you get good at it, right?
Totally.
Like you just have to start doing it. Otherwise, you're never going to make the jump.
What do you recommend for founders? Like, do you have a cadence, or how do you kind of think about the advice on building a personal brand?
I'll start with, it's important to be consistent. And so you don't want to, if you're just starting out, it's better not to overextend yourself to try to like do too much and then not do anything at all and burn out. So people that are very hesitant, I mean, we just say start with once a week. Is that best practice? No, but it's something that will get them in the habit of doing it, get them used to it, and then they can build from that. And then I'll let Borzou take this because there's so much more.
There is so much more, but that's also 100% right. And I think founders in particular, like they just way overthink everything. You know what I mean? They feel
All
like it has to
do,
be
right?
perfect
But I
or
mean, for
polished.
founders especially, yeah.
Yeah, well, we all do, but it's one thing where you're like, are they going to like my outfit? And another thing where you're like, is this going to lose me a customer? They just get so in their head about it, and they feel like it has to be like perfect and polished and this and that. And it's like, no, people want to see the warts. You know what I mean? They want to see that you're like a normal human being that they can relate to. They say that your brain doesn't recognize the difference between screen time and like actually hanging out with someone. That's why people cry when celebrities die. Like I genuinely feel like Ryan Reynolds would really like me if we met in person. You know what I mean?
I would want to.
But I mean, you're having like hundreds or thousands of like coffees at once, and it really is just, Amanda's right. Algorithmically, like they reward consistency. So if you're doing 2 posts a week, right, that's better than doing 8 posts one week and 0
Yep.
the rest of the week. But I think just focusing on getting content out to start, and then seeing what people respond to, seeing what performs well, seeing what you end up liking to do is the most important thing.
I love the 1,000 coffees at once, like, analogy. I'm gonna take that and repeat that. That's so good.
Thank you. I'm gonna go trademark it real quick.
And then curious about the performance piece, because this is something that's come up a lot. I think AI has made it easier for teams to produce content, or at least get started with production of content. But then it's like, wait, like nothing's happening. So how much content do you need to put out there before your results should start to be meaningful, or you should start thinking about shifting tact?
Well, it's better to be good and unique and meaningful content in order for it to have meaningful results. So just just having a process with AI where it writes you certain number of posts, and then you do it because it's easy is absolutely awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is chicken and egg consistency versus quality, right? Because the more you post, the more you grow if the content is good, you know? And if it's good, it doesn't have to be highly produced, but you have to like find the cadence and rhythm of things that people are interested in. And I always say, and there are a million tricks and hacks for the algorithm, and we know them all, and hit us up if you have questions, but nothing is more important than being interesting.
Yeah, totally.
You can break all the rules if you can keep people's attention. That's the only thing that actually matters. And it's why some people on LinkedIn are crushing it with 2 or 3 line funny posts all day, right? Some people are crushing it with really long form, like articles that they're writing. You know what I mean? Some are crushing it with short form video, right? I mean, I post the same shit on LinkedIn that I do on Instagram, not all of it, but like most of it. But you also don't really find what is going to be interesting to people until you start putting stuff out there, right? So like on my personal side, I try to do some business, some creative, some what I consider lifestyle, and some like parenting, right? Like I think balance is kind of like the key to happiness. And my parenting content murders all my other content. And I would never have thought, until I'm talking like hundreds of thousands of views compared to like, you know what I mean? And I never would have thought that would be the thing, right? But like some of it, you just got to keep putting stuff out until you see kind of what your audience responds to.
It seems like often, like what we've seen. So I used to run a marketing agency too, and we would work with usually startups starting around.
Who didn't, Haley?
Right. Oh, who did
I,
it? We
Yeah, I'm
like
just kidding. I
um,
always joke that the only happy agency owner is a former agency owner.
we should have like a debrief on that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, let's go down that rabbit hole. We would work with like starting with seed stage companies all the way through to, much later stage private companies and a few public as well. But often companies that were just getting started would go way too bottom of the funnel with their content on social media. So
Yeah.
almost like and this is like the old school SEO days, right? But like the how-to article like doesn't belong on LinkedIn or like the various product posts versus to your point, these more, I don't know, things that get you in your feels on parenting, interesting, funny, and there is definitely a place for that. It seems like there's more B2C style marketing coming to business in a really kind of fun and humanizing way.
Yeah, because it's still a person making the choice.
Yeah, that's something that, I mean, we always say that probably, I think originally did come from Borzou, where it's like, even if a sale is B2B, there's still a person making the decision. You have to appeal to that person, and that person is a consumer.
And what you're building is trust, right? People think it's, you're putting out content for this and that and da da da. But no, you're building a relationship. It really is a thousand coffees, right? You're building a relationship and knowing that like they know what you do day to day. They feel like they can trust you. And I don't think it works if it's inauthentic, right? I've seen people try to put out like if I was doing videos in like a blue blazer with brass buttons and an ascot, right? Like I think it would immediately read like fuck this guy. Everyone's gonna unsubscribe, right? It's got to be real to you. And I think when we coach people on this, that's really what it is. It's not we're trying to get you to sound, look, feel like someone else. I want you to be able to be on LinkedIn the way you are with me on FaceTime. If I grab you, Haley, for a 2-second FaceTime check-in on like what's going on with Hustle Fund, right? Like that's how I want you to deliver the update on LinkedIn.
Totally. So it kind of comes back, like for me, to how we evaluate companies and this idea of execution. One of the things that consistent posting shows is your ability to execute, right? So when you think about building your funnel for your next fundraise, investors having visibility and being able to see like this person can show up consistently, they can market, like that matters a lot, especially the further along you get, right? I think about one of our portfolio companies, Haven, which focuses on helping startups manage their bookkeeping. They did like $9.5 million last year. They've raised not a ton of money, like a very, very scrappy team, profitable. Cyrus Shirazi is like the classic example of building in public. He talks about how he runs his team. It's literally just like you feel like he was at the water cooler. If people still have those, do you guys have one in your off? I like work remote. I don't know if water coolers are still a thing, but
Yeah, I mean it's like the new ones with the filter and you
okay.
don't have to change the
You let
bottle
us
anymore,
go
but
to
yeah.
stream.
Yeah.
You're just having like this casual conversation to your point, Borzou, about it being just informal, human, and he's just sharing a quick update. And he posts these, once a week or something. And I think it's a great drumbeat and a great way to build momentum and relationships ahead of your upcoming fundraising rounds.
Well, and then a low key advantage that people don't like to talk about because it implies an amount of failure, which happens sometimes, right? Is your personal brand follows you, right? So if this thing doesn't work out and you're raising for something new, you still have that audience. If you switch funds, if
Am I fired? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Like, did I get fired and nobody told me before this?
I'm sorry, I got a note that I was going to
Yeah.
deliver
All
you a
right. I
message at the
figured.
end. Yeah,
That's fine.
but they are appreciative of your service,
No, but
and you were a
that's
great.
exactly it. And that's actually it's so important for founders to write as themselves before they focus too much on the company because the product will probably change a lot. We see it change a lot at pre-seed. So they can talk more about things they're doing, the broader market they're interested in, what they're seeing. That is a very portable audience for the next.
Well, and you guys just had a big shift, right? Because we talk about purpose-based branding a lot. And it's the whole Simon Sinek start with why. Because mission, vision, the way you do things can change. I feel like for Hustle Fund, you guys have gone through this little restructure, rebrand thing, but the purpose has not changed at all. But I feel like you've adjusted the branding to reflect the purpose that you guys are always after.
Yes, totally. Hustle Fund has been around since 2017, and we've been committed to the mission since then. And it's really just evolved over time and given us the opportunity to do more and more. So we started as a fund, and then in 2021, we launched Angel Squad, which is an angel investor community that now has over 2,500 investors all over the world. We have more and more of a media brand, which includes things like our YouTube channel, our newsletters, our social media profiles. We also have a very active events program. We're going to host over 50 events all over the world this year. We did over 30 last year after doing maybe 10 the year before that. And we have a couple more projects you'll see later this month that we're about to launch. So we really needed a place to house all of those things. And what's a little bit tough is, we'll meet with founders or LPs and they'll be like, "You're a fund, but wait, are you a fund? Because you're all these other things too." So we launched Hustle Commons a few weeks ago to bring all of our various entities under one larger umbrella where everything can live, kind of like a college campus or something, right? With you have your school of engineering, of medicine, all these different areas. And I'm excited to see how it grows from here, but hopefully that helps as sort of a welcome mat to the hustleverse that people can explore and learn from. And what's cool is, right, like you're saying, Borzou, brands, visions evolve over time. I think ambition can evolve over time too. So that's what we often see with founders. You have an idea, you want to solve one problem, and then it becomes a platform, a movement, a much bigger thing. So it's an exciting moment to be in, and yeah, more to come soon.
Yeah, and I don't like giving generally compliments to branding and websites I didn't do, but you guys did a good job.
It means a lot. It means a lot coming from you.
And so you guys are heavily focused on SaaS products. So how do you guys manage, or how did you, or do you, because the SaaS apocalypse that seems to be never ending. What do you do? What are you guys doing? And then we can talk about what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it kind of goes back to something I said earlier. So at Hustle Fund, we of course focus on like just great founders first and foremost, but we really like unique ideas. And what's happened in the last few years is many categories have become more and more crowded. And now as the barrier to entry to build products has significantly dropped, that amount of competition is just exploding. And as we see these large horizontal platforms launch new features almost every week that are making companies maybe less relevant or making moats disappear, it's a conversation we're having constantly. Where we see a lot of opportunity still is in areas that are going to be harder to disrupt. So think like regulated industries. A lot of critical industries are going to be tough. So everything from energy to aerospace, dual use, pharmaceuticals. So we're spending more time there. Definitely thinking about the emerging markets as well. So with Claudebot, or now I guess OpenClaw, coming out, it's really accelerated the growth of the agentic economy. Maybe, 6 months ago, so many investors said it was way too early to start placing bets because the behavior isn't there, right? If you think about like me or you, like you want to buy something online, like are you ready to give an agent your wallet and to let it go and make decisions? 6 months ago, probably not, but with OpenClaw, we're seeing people do that, which is crazy. And it creates all this new opportunity. So we're really trying to spend time in the areas that we think are going to be a lot harder for these horizontal platforms to disrupt, and in these new markets that just are desperately in need of infrastructure. Like who's going to sell to agents, who's going to market to agents, and like kind of police agent interactions. It's a really exciting time. Yeah, but I'm curious what you're doing, Amanda.
Well, I mean, there's so many different areas, ways that you can look at this. Like how does it affect our customer base? How does it affect how we market for ourselves and for our clients? So I'm not even sure which angle to take with this. It definitely doesn't affect us the same way it affects you. It's very different. Let's go with the marketing first. So
That's the
we
big one.
Yeah. We need to make sure that our clients and our company are findable through AI, because any kind of AI program tool is going to be scanning the web for information, markers, reviews, third party recommendations, whatever. They just need, it needs, the more proof you have on the web, the more those agents and those AI programs are going to find your company and refer your company to whoever is looking for it, whether it's the agent or the person behind using the AI. So it's just it's more of a content play and more of a brand play, if that's what you're asking, than it was with traditional SEO. SEO still comes into play very heavily, like all those same tactics that you would use in order to get your brand findable, like having good reviews for your company and having like created articles that you've written where you're sourced and then they find your name or your company. So that all still happens. The difference is now when you're searching, you want to pay, I think, more attention to the sources that AI is coming up with. So if you see that you asked AI a buying question and then you see all these sources come up, you want and it referenced like different things that they would persuade you to buy as choices. You want to be placed there. You want to see what they're sourcing so that you can put your company in those sources so that it's going to recommend you, in addition to all the other things that we have to do, be findable on the
Yeah,
web.
the AEO side is lending itself to kind of what we do, right? Brand mention, social, all that stuff is becoming very heavy in play. It's like mostly local SEO, overall brand presence. The one thing we don't do that it affects it a lot now is PR. On the internal side, right? So I'm for now strongly in the camp that like, we're not going to be replaced by AI. We're going to get replaced by someone who's better at using AI than we are. And so we are like just trying to really stay on top of, use everything. I got like my fucking Mac Mini set up with OpenCloud right here, and and I'm messing with that, and I'm kind of like semi-competing it with Cloudwork, and that's a whole separate conversation.
Right.
Um,
Hang on. Desktop too.
like I trust Cloudwork more, obviously, but like,
Yeah.
OpenCloud's pretty silly. And then on the like production side, right, we're just trying to automate as much of our process as possible. And so at the moment, we've kind of built like this whole agentic flow for like content topics or like scrapes, all the stuff that we use in our process to find this things people are looking for and like the most stuff. And we're still testing everything all the time. I don't think anything competes with real personal brand style video and even the graphics, right? Like I think for now, AI created content is dope when it's designed to be AI content, right? Like I like that use case where like it's look what we made with AI, not as a replacement for like the real thing. And so far it's going pretty well. If it goes too well, maybe we'll have a SaaS conversation.
Right. Exactly.
But that's kind of where we're at right now. But I think, I think marketing and development only because I don't think most people are aware that's in the crossfire yet. I think we're the two things people think of as kind of first to go, but it's coming for everyone. I saw a post the other day about how if your attorney is not an AI cloud based firm,
I
like
saw
you're
that.
wasting your money. Did you? Yeah.
I bookmarked it. I still haven't because there's like every day it's like the end of this job, and then you have to bookmark it and come back to it later. But
What's silly is I know that like some of the largest consultancy firms are not using AI. They're looked to as, oh, you guys must be on the front lines of this, like figuring they are not. They are behind.
although I think I saw that Accenture is aligning promotions to AI adoption, which is, in my opinion, so smart to like
Yeah.
almost force people to use it. I agree with you, Borzou, though. Like it's coming for all of us. We joke about it a lot at Hustle Fund. I think
Hmm.
I joked about it for too long. People are like, okay, you're like the boy who cried wolf, but now it's for real. So we're getting pretty serious about building more things ourselves and trying to figure out what are the things we should be outsourcing completely to AI, what should we still be on the loop on, and then what are the things that only we can do, which is part of why
Yeah.
I think this like focus on in real life is so important. And then also the stage that we invest, right? Like coming in very early where it's maybe harder to source just using tools is still for now a special place, but we'll see. It's changing quickly.
Yeah. I mean, we are not that far away from agent to agent selling and buying and the whole kit and caboodle. And I do think we're gonna, and maybe I'm just being like optimistic because like this will be more fun for me. I think, I think because like AI is amazing at doing the best of everything that everyone knows about, right? So it gives everyone the same tips, advice, maybe a little tailored to your bias, but otherwise, I think it's going to really like push the importance of creativity and trying new things and going outside the box to get noise, which is something I'm excited about because there's a lot of dumb shit I want to do that I've never gotten permission to do. So maybe this will be the time.
Oh my God, totally. People can lean into creativity, but it does seem like, yeah, a moment for a massive mindset shift. And I agree. It seems like not everyone's fully embraced how quickly this is coming because it's accelerating very fast. But it's cool to hear how you're embracing it at your your work, with your work, and for your clients. Someone compared it to like sand surfing and dune and how quickly the sand shifts.
I mean, it's a different game every week.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, because we had ChatGPT, and then all of a sudden, then there's Claude and Perplexity, blah, blah, blah. Then there's Claudebot. And then and now it's like, as of 2 weeks ago, everything is totally different from when it was totally different 6 months ago.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, Haley, for anyone who has an idea like this, and whether it's SaaS specific and something you guys are interested in, or kind of any founder or entrepreneur, what's your one piece of advice about where to start and getting started?
Fall in love with your customers, like build for your customers, whether that's, someone in a regulated industry or an agent. Just know your customers better than anyone else and be able to tell that story if you can. And you can build a basic MVP and you want to raise money, you probably will be able to.
So just to add on to that, because people think they have to like secretly figure that out, you can just ask them.
Yeah, totally.
It is unbelievable to me how many people don't seem to think they can not only ask their existing customers why they picked them, what they're happy with, blah, blah, which is like a super important thing to do. But you can go to the market and just be like, hey, is this a problem you have? If I built something like this, would you be interested in it? That's
Totally.
the smartest, easiest way to do it. People feel like they have to do it all behind the scenes, and I just don't think that's true.
Yeah. You need to ask people that are not afraid to hurt your feelings, because that is something people might just ask their friends, and then their friends are like, this is great. So you should.
Maybe it's just my friends. My friends shit on my ideas
Yeah, it's your friend. That's your friend.
more than anyone else. My friends fucking
to their feelings.
One of our portfolio companies, Lotus Labs, they make it easy for anyone to control devices, lights with a very simple ring. Before they pitched what they were going to build, they did 9 hours of customer discovery interviews with each customer just to understand the problem. So I think like fall in love with your customers and fall in love with their problems, like before even getting to solution. That's really important.
That's cute.
Thank you all for having me. It's so great to connect and excited to hear how things play out with other guests on your podcast.
likewise, and I hope I see you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.